Hello and welcome. If you're watching this, chances are you're finding it hard to quiet your mind tonight, to drift off into sleep. That restless feeling, that endless loop of thoughts, it's a common struggle. Tonight, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to explore the landscape of human fears, a list of 100 different phobias. The idea isn't to alarm you, but perhaps by focusing your mind gently on these distinct concepts, one by one, we can create a different kind of mental pathway. A path away from your own immediate worries and towards a more relaxed state. So find a comfortable position, lie down, settle in. Let your body sink into your bed or your chair. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Release any tension you're holding in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. As we go through this list, simply listen. Don't feel the need to react or engage deeply with each phobia. Just let the words wash over you. Think of it as a journey through the fascinating and sometimes strange ways our minds can perceive fear. We'll begin now. Settle in, get cozy, and just listen. We're now going to dim the screen so that you don't have any further distractions. Just let the sounds of a crackling campfire relax you as we begin to list these strange phobias. Acrophobia, fear of heights. Proof that the ground is humanity's oldest and most reliable friend. Everything else is just showing off. Arachnophobia, fear of spiders. The suspicion that anything with 8 legs and that much time to weave complex structures must be plotting something. Ophidiophobia, fear of snakes. That moment you realize nature decided legs were optional and you wholeheartedly disagree. Claustrophobia, fear of confined or enclosed spaces. Suddenly finding open-plan living not just stylish, but a vital survival strategy. Agoraphobia, fear of open spaces, crowds, or situations where escape might be difficult. The profound belief that the best parties are the ones you observe from a safe distance, preferably through binoculars, from your window. Cynophobia, fear of dogs. Constantly wondering why humanity domesticated something that can be both man's best friend and a furry 4-legged jump scare. Astrophobia, cheronophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. When the sky starts its own dramatic percussion solo, and you're convinced you're about to be the main cymbal crash. Trypanophobia, fear of needles or injections. Believing that any medical procedure involving pointy objects is just an elaborate excuse for medieval acupuncture gone wrong. Mysophobia/germophobia, fear of germs or contamination. The condition where you view handshakes as an extreme sport and hand sanitizer as your personal bodyguard. Coulrophobia, fear of clowns. The perfectly rational fear that anyone wearing shoes that big and a smile that permanent cannot possibly be trustworthy. Glossophobia, fear of public speaking. When your brain decides the best response to a crowd is to either freeze entirely or attempt warp speed with your words, there is no in-between. Ailurophobia, fear of cats. The deep-seated suspicion that beneath the purring and naps lies a tiny judgmental predator who remembers everything. Nyctophobia, fear of the dark or night. Convinced that your furniture secretly rearranges itself the moment the lights go out, just waiting for your shins. Aquaphobia, fear of water, distinct from hydrophobia related to rabies. When you look at a swimming pool and see not refreshing fun, but a large, suspicious puddle plotting your demise. Ornithophobia, fear of birds. that nagging feeling that Hitchcock wasn't making fiction, but a deeply concerning documentary. Electrophobia, fear of chickens. The unsettling realization that something capable of that much panicked flapping might just be hiding profound secrets. Entomophobia, fear of insects. The belief that the world is secretly run by tiny creatures with too many legs and an unsettling interest in your personal space. Really didn't want to think about. Veophobia, fear of driving. Believing that turn signals are merely suggestions and that every other driver secretly got their license from a cereal box. Achievemophobia, fear of success. It's like finally climbing the ladder, only to realize you're terrified of the view and slightly worried about the structural integrity. Necrophobia, fear of death or dead things. Ardently hoping reincarnation is real, primarily so you can avoid your own funeral. Phagophobia, fear of swallowing or eating. When dinner feels less like a meal and more like navigating a treacherous obstacle course for your esophagus. Phobophobia, fear of phobias or developing a phobia. The ultimate meta-fear, being afraid you might suddenly become afraid of, well, anything. It's terribly efficient. Hemophobia, fear of blood. The body's insistence on keeping its vital fluids strictly internal is suddenly appreciated on a deeply personal level. Paper cuts become existential threats. Ichthyophobia, fear of fish. That deep distrust of anything that can breathe underwater and stare blankly while potentially plotting fishy things. Katsuritophobia, fear of cockroaches. Recognizing that any creature that can survive that long and move that fast is clearly playing by different terrifying rules. Globophobia, fear of balloons, particularly popping. Treating every birthday party like a potential minefield of sudden loud, rubbery explosions. Cake is safer. Omphallophobia, fear of navels, belly buttons. Suspiciously eyeing your own midsection, wondering what secrets that small indentation is really hiding. Lint? Or existential dread? Chronophobia, fear of time passing. When you check your watch and feel less informed and more like you're witnessing a tiny, relentless countdown to something. Nosocomophobia, fear of hospitals. Believing that the distinct smell of antiseptic is actually a warning signal for impending jello and awkward questions. Anuptophobia, fear of being single or staying single. Treating dating apps less like a way to meet people and more like a high-stakes game of musical chairs where the music might stop at any moment. When you hear flapping at night and are immediately convinced a tiny, leathery vampire accountant is coming to audit your life choices. Automatonophobia, fear of ventriloquists' dummies, animatronic creatures, wax statues, or anything falsely representing a sentient being. That unsettling feeling that if you blink, the mannequin in the shop window might just offer you some unsolicited fashion advice. Ablutophobia, fear of bathing, washing, or cleaning. When rinse and repeat sounds less like instructions and more like a cruel taunt from the forces of hygiene. Acmophobia, fear of sharp objects, needles, knives, pointed objects. The belief that even a carefully handled butter knife secretly dreams of becoming a throwing star. Androphobia, fear of men, suspecting that behind every beard and deep voice lurks someone who still doesn't know how to load the dishwasher correctly. Anthophobia, fear of flowers, when a bouquet looks less like a romantic gesture and more like a colorful conspiracy plotting an allergy attack. Phobia, fear of being touched. Viewing personal space not just as a preference, but as a heavily fortified, strictly enforced international border. Arithmophobia/numerophobia, fear of numbers. The sneaking suspicion that numbers are just letters that got way too organized and judgmental. Adicophobia, fear of failure. Treating every task, no matter how small, like it's the final round of a game show where the prize is not looking silly. Autophobia/monophobia, fear of being alone. When your own company feels less like peaceful solitude and more like being trapped in a room with someone who knows all your embarrassing stories. Bacteriophobia, fear of bacteria, often overlaps with mysophobia. Owning more types of soap than you do shoes, and viewing every doorknob as a potential petri dish party. Bathmophobia, fear of stairs or steep slopes. Strongly believing that elevators and escalators aren't conveniences, they're essential vertical transport for survival. Bibliophobia, fear of books. The worry that opening a particularly large novel might actually result in a paper cut to the soul. Botanophobia, fear of plants. Feeling vaguely threatened by houseplants, suspecting they're slowly plotting to replace the oxygen with passive aggression. Buffonophobia, fear of toads. The deep conviction that every warty amphibian is just one kiss away from remaining a warty amphibian but now slightly slimier. Cacophobia, fear of ugliness. When you spend more time curating your Instagram feed than your own emotional well-being, just in case. Catagelophobia, fear of being ridiculed. The reason you rehearse even casual conversations in your head, just to ensure maximum non-ridiculousness. Catoptrophobia/spectrophobia, fear of mirrors or one's own reflection. Avoiding reflective surfaces, just in case your reflection finally decides to stage a coup and live your life, probably better. Chemophobia, fear of chemicals or working with chemicals. Reading ingredient lists with the intensity of a bomb disposal expert, suspicious of anything with more than 3 syllables. Chionophobia, fear of snow. When a winter wonderland looks less magical and more like the world is being aggressively blanketed by cold, wet, inconvenient glitter. Chromatophobia, fear of money. Possibly the only fear that makes tax season slightly less stressful, albeit for entirely different, impractical reasons. Chronometrophobia, fear of clocks. Feeling personally attacked by the relentless ticking, as if time isn't just passing. It's passive-aggressively judging your productivity. Cyberphobia, fear of computers or working on computers. The suspicion that the spinning beach ball isn't just loading, it's silently mocking your life choices and internet speed. Decidophobia, fear of making decisions, when choosing between pizza toppings feels like defusing a bomb with potentially delicious or disastrous consequences. Dendrophobia, fear of trees, walking through a park feeling vaguely outnumbered and concerned about sudden, aggressive root expansion. Dentophobia/odontophobia, fear of dentists or dental procedures. The only place where open wide sounds less like an instruction and more like the beginning of a horror movie scene. Didascalanophobia, fear of going to school. When the sound of a school bell triggers a fight-or-flight response, usually reserved for encountering apex predators, or pop quizzes. Dichophobia, fear of justice. Believing that karma isn't just a concept, it's actively taking notes and possibly collaborating with traffic wardens. Disabiliophobia, fear of undressing in front of someone. Treating changing rooms like high-security vaults, requiring Mission Impossible levels of stealth and speed. Isoptrophobia, similar to catoptrophobia. Fear of seeing oneself in a mirror. That awkward moment when you catch your reflection and jump, momentarily forgetting you are, in fact, you. Electrophobia, fear of electricity, viewing power outlets not as sources of energy, but as tiny angry wall gremlins waiting for a misplaced finger. Ephibophobia, fear of teenagers, the feeling that anyone capable of mastering TikTok dances and complex eye rolls simultaneously must possess otherworldly, slightly terrifying powers. Equinophobia, fear of horses, when you see a majestic steed and your first thought isn't beauty, but that's a lot of teeth and potential kicking power. Ergophobia, fear of work or the workplace environment, when your Sunday evenings are less about relaxation and more about pre-mourning the loss of your freedom. Galeophobia, salachophobia, fear of sharks, the reason you check the bathtub for fins before getting in, despite living hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean. Thanks, Jaws. Genophobia, fear of knees, the unsettling feeling that knees are just elbows that got weirdly prominent and developed minds of their own. Jurassicophobia, fear of growing old, investing heavily in moisturizers and positive affirmations, hoping to confuse time into slowing down through sheer optimism and good hydration. Heliophobia, fear of the sun or sunlight, basically living life like a stylish vampire, but with less biting and more complaining about inadequate curtain thickness. Hylophobia, fear of forests, suspecting that every rustling leaf is either a squirrel planning world domination or the beginning of a Blair Witch sequel. Hypnophobia, similar to somnophobia, fear of sleep or being hypnotized, worrying that if you fall asleep too deeply, you might wake up inexplicably craving pickled onions or clucking like a chicken. Iatrophobia, fear of doctors, when "take two and call me in the morning" sounds suspiciously like a threat disguised as medical advice. Insectophobia, similar to entomophobia, fear of insects, the conviction that every buzz, chirp, or skitter is a tiny declaration of war against your personal sanity. Kumpunophobia, fear of buttons, viewing cardigans not as cozy attire but as garments covered in tiny, suspicious, potentially evil plastic discs. Zippers are friends. Ligerophobia/phonophobia, fear of loud noises, experiencing sudden sounds less as noise and more as an aggressive, unannounced auditory assault on your nervous system. Lachiophobia/myusiophobia, fear of childbirth, believing that storks are not only real but run a far more efficient and significantly less alarming delivery service. Logophobia, fear of words, preferring communication via interpretive dance and elaborate emojis to avoid the tyranny of the alphabet. Melanophobia, fear of the color black, when choosing an outfit becomes a complex negotiation to avoid looking like you're perpetually attending a very chic funeral. Microphobia, fear of small things, suspiciously eyeing dust bunnies, convinced they're just biding their time before assembling into a larger, fluffier menace. Myrmecophobia, fear of ants, the certainty that every dropped crumb is an open invitation for tiny six-legged communists to seize the means of production, your kitchen. Octophobia, fear of the number 8, finding infinity symbols deeply unsettling and constantly wondering why spiders needed that many legs. 7 seems perfectly adequate. Ombrophobia, fear of rain, when an umbrella feels less like protection and more like a flimsy shield against the sky deciding to cry aggressively all over you. Pediophobia. Fear of dolls. The distinct feeling that those glassy eyes follow you around the room, silently judging your life choices and questionable decorating skills. Podophobia. Fear of feet. Believing that feet are just hands that gave up on their dreams and decided to specialize in smelling weird and stubbing themselves on furniture. Pyrophobia. Fear of fire. Treating birthday candles with the caution usually reserved for handling unstable explosives. Make a wish? More like make a safety plan. Samhainophobia. Fear of Halloween. When October 31st feels less like a fun night of costumes and candy and more like a citywide audition for low-budget horror movies. Scolionophobia. Similar to didascalenophobia. Fear of school. The lingering trauma from standardized tests and the existential dread of cafeteria mystery meat. Selenophobia. Fear of the moon. Suspecting the moon isn't just controlling tides, but also judging your late-night snacking habits with its silent, silvery gaze. Sesquipedalophobia. Fear of long words. The universe having a laugh by giving the fear of long words a ridiculously long word. Very funny etymology. Cydenglobophobia. Fear of cotton balls. When the inside of an aspirin bottle looks less like padding and more like a fluffy, sound-dampening cloud of pure terror. Taphophobia. Fear of being buried alive. The reason you insist on having excellent cell phone reception included in your final arrangements, just in case. Technophobia. Fear of technology. Suspiciously eyeing your smart fridge, convinced it's judging your snack choices and secretly plotting with the toaster. Xanthophobia. Fear of the color yellow. Finding minions deeply unsettling and believing that sunflowers are just being aggressively cheerful in a very suspicious way.